Hey everyone, thanks for joining me again today. I am the worst daughter of all, and today is going to be a fun one. I'm going to be talking about my mother, and this one, kind of just a heads up, it's going to be long, and if you are a survivor of abuse and you have CPTSD or PTSD, this could trigger you. So I just want to let you know that. I consider my mother a codependent enabler of my narcissistic father. Although I blame her for the choices that she has made to stick with him and to enable him to do his bad behavior, I also understand the psychology behind why she does what she does. I see her as a victim, so I just wanted to put that out there first and foremost. While I do hold her accountable for what she has done, or am holding her accountable, I understand why she's done the things that she's done, and I'm going to explain that later on in the video. So, I want to give her background first and foremost because I think it's important to understand that she was traumatized as a child as well, and that most of the time, this unhealthy behavior, whether you're the abuser or the perpetual victim or target of abuse, it's usually because somewhere in your background you were traumatized by someone or abused by someone that you were close to or were supposed to be close to. So my mother grew up with a malignant borderline mother who was always in competition with her, who was an alcoholic, is an alcoholic to this day. And her father is a passive-aggressive man that I believe is a minor narcissist himself now. And she idolizes him because he seems to be calm, and he's the one that is the sane one of the two, so it seems. He's also an enabler, and so I think that she sees that and has, over the years, kind of followed in those footsteps. I think that both of their mottos, my mother and her father, I think that both of their life mottos are, I'm never going to give up no matter what. It's this idiotic kind of thinking, this idiotic compassion that no matter what this abusive person does, no matter how bad things get, I'm going to stick with them because they don't let them take responsibility for their bad behaviors. They blame it on their own background, their own childhood. So even if they're killing the target or the victim, they still see them as this little puppy dog or baby that needs help. So they'll never give up. In fact, I've heard my mother say that multiple times growing up, that she'll never give up on my father. So there's that. My mother met my father when they were quite young, teenagers. She had just moved to the state where he's from with her parents. She was no longer in high school, but he was. They're about a year apart. So she just graduated and he was about to graduate from high school. And they both grew up in terribly problematic environments, both parents. That's never an excuse for abuse, but my mother always used that excuse as to why it was okay for him to do these bad behaviors or why he did these bad behaviors. I think early on, from the stories that I've heard from different people in my family, is that my father was very physically abusive and mentally abusive with my mother. So mental, emotional, verbal, physical, any and all. She would have black eyes and, this and that, bruises. And she would tell people, oh, ran into something, fell down the stairs. The usual. When I later was out of their house and I would confront them with this as an angry teenager or angry young adult in my early 20s, I would be met with, well, you weren't there. You don't understand the situation. We were both problematic and we were just working things out, is what I was told. I remember that at a certain age, the cycle started, I think, where my father, I never saw him physical with her. I've heard him be physical with her before in another room. But I never witnessed actual physical abuse. It was always verbal manipulation, verbal abuse, little things that his thing is to drip poison into you until you die, to corrode away at your self-esteem. He ridicules you. If you like something, for instance, like a TV show, and he has no interest in it, he will, as you're watching it, he'll just make fun of it, say that you're stupid for liking it, any and everything that you may have an interest in that he is not interested in, he will somehow make you ashamed or ridicule you for feeling like this is something that you are interested in. For instance, my mother really loved to read, and that was that had been her escape since she was a young child away from her abusive family. And when she would try to read, he would demand her attention. Like, you're not spending enough time with me. All you ever want to do is read. You're addicted to reading. You never spend time with me. When in reality, he had made it so that they had a business together. They were together 24 hours a day, every day. But she couldn't even have that time to herself. So it's just one of those things where they will demand all of your time, everything from you. One thing that I heard a lot growing up from my mother was, well, I know that things can get bad. Her speaking to me. I know that things can get bad, but, when things are good, they're really good. And this is the cycle I found out later of, that intermittent positive reward, kind of like cult indoctrination, this grooming of someone that you're love bombing them. You're mirroring back all the things, all the good things that they are. As an abuser, they mirror that back to the person. So the person actually is falling in love with themselves. So all those things that the good qualities about my mother that he saw in her, he just basically fed that back to her. Oh, you like this? I like this. Oh, we have fun when we do this together because this is your favorite thing. So it's also my favorite thing. But then eventually that turns into, that's stupid. I know I said that I liked it too, but you're stupid for liking that. And it just chips away day by day by day, slowly, until he gets what he wants, which is that she's broken. She's no longer got that light inside of her. And over the 30 plus years that they've, been together, that they've been married, that's what's happened. And now she's become a shell of her former self. And now she's just that mirror. She's just a mirror to him. He says what he wants to hear into the mirror and it repeats it back to him. She's a puppet. It's interesting to me that I've tried to, I went no contact several years ago when I moved out of state. And my father is so afraid to go anywhere outside of his little town, to live anywhere outside of his little town. So he won't he's a big fish in a little town, I think he thinks. So everyone loves him there, but if he were to go outside into a larger area, he would be a shrinking violet. I think that's his fear. I think that he feels like there would be other people that wouldn't take his crap. So what I'm trying to say is he is very insecure and he needs to control everything and everyone around him. This is the reason that he scapegoated me as his only child. I think he saw in me that I wouldn't take it. I was going to rebel, and I knew what he was underneath. I could see that reptilian, like, true face under that nice guy, charming guy mask. And anyone who can see past that, he does not want involved in anywhere near his main supply, which is my mother. So when I opened up communication from being no contact to my mother a few years ago, which was a mistake, I thought I was only speaking to her. And I thought, well, I don't want a relationship with him, but perhaps I could have a relationship with her alone. You would think that as an adult, you would let your child have that relationship. But again, remembering that narcissistic people, malignant abusers, so malignant borderlines, psychopaths, dark triads, all of the above, those cluster Bs, they do not know what boundaries are. They are totally enmeshed with their victims. And so they don't see them as a separate entity. So what I'm trying to say is when I tried to speak to my mother on her own, phone calls and emails and, text messaging, little did I know he was right there. So even if he wasn't home, he was recording her. He had access to her emails and messages. He would have her put me on speakerphone when he was there so that he could hear everything I would say. He just needed to know what was going on so that there was no way that I would take her away from him, which is so funny to me. Like, he is just so insecure about her being taken away. It's ridiculous. And he even said near the last time that I actually spoke with them that, well, if I'm not involved in the relationship, then you can't have a relationship with your mother. That was just a few years ago. I was in my late 20s at that point. So you can't tell a grown adult out on their own that they can't have a relationship with someone else. I mean, what authority do you have, But that's the just unwell thinking of the narcissistic person or the malignant abuser. So yeah, it's very interesting because now my mother is just a prisoner and she's allowed herself to be in the situation because when someone is with an abuser and they get brainwashed, they become literally addicted, chemically addicted in their brain to this person. It is known as trauma bonding. So you may have heard of like Stockholm syndrome. It's very similar where two people go through, or a couple people go through a traumatic event. And then afterwards, they are manipulated into, like, I'll just give you an example. Say in a physically abusive person, they will beat the crap out of someone. And then right after, they'll draw them a bath and they'll take care of them and they'll treat them really nice. If you do that all the time, that on and off again, I hate you, I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you, I love you. But you do that not consistently, like, I hate you, I love you, you do, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I hate you, And it's what you do when you train a dog. It's basically, do you get the treat or do you just not get the treat? So what happens is that all those chemicals in your brain that get you addicted to loving that person, wanting that person, as soon as they try to pull away or they try to discard you, that's when all those chemicals rush in and you want to get closer to that person. You want to make them love you again. You want all of those love bombing feelings again. And so that's what's happened, and that's where the addiction comes from. So I totally, like I said in the beginning, I totally understand why she does what she does, why she's thrown me away. I'm her only child, but she's chosen to throw, that relationship away because of this person, this abuser that she's just enmeshed with. I'll get that word right at some point. Sorry, guys. But, I understand that she just isn't ready to be done, and she may never be ready to be done with this person. She may never gain back who she was, or she may never build, her self-esteem. She may just be this way until she dies, unfortunately. If for some reason she was able to get out and able to get free and stuck with it and didn't go back, which is very unlikely, especially the statistics of abused people, going back. I think they said it's like 5 or 6 or something like that, like times for someone to leave their abuser, they'll go back that many times. And so, they may never finally leave because they're so addicted. So if for some reason she got out, she was totally done, she'd have to be going to therapy and really working on herself, really going through those, even though she's not an alcoholic, but those Alcoholics Anonymous steps, those work, I think, for any addiction. It'd have to be something like that. She'd have to learn boundaries. Then I would consider maybe going to therapy, like family therapy with her. Maybe having a slow introduction into a relationship. Only after, she's told me that she wants to make amends and apologized for the terrible things that she's said and done. Because in the wake of her siding with the narcissist, she's said some really terrible, horrible things to me that I know they aren't her. They sound exactly like what he would say, the same wording, almost verbatim what he would say, the same name calling, to hurt me, to push me away, so that it's kind of like known what side she's on, so that she could be not safe, but what she feels is safe with this abusive person. So, I could go on with more of this, but I think I kind of got my point across. But I might be talking more about her. This is just such a huge subject in my life because it's almost like I get to see her mistakes and try to live my life opposite of what she's doing. So all I can do now is move on with my life and try to continue on my own healing journey and understand what's going on with her and with me and with him, and just kind of go from there with my own life and walk in, a more healthy, path. So as always, thank you so much for listening, guys. I'll be back with another video soon. Thanks. Bye.